Are you ever just chilling and then boom, you get brutally mauled down by the most ugly Pokemons you've ever seen? But what if it didn't have to be this way? Well, if you're asking yourself this, you have came to the right place, as in the part 1 of this video we discussed how to kill and survive SCP-173, 939 and 049. In this video we'll do it for the remaining 3 clowns. I'll discuss everything from basic survival and killing strategies all the way to some more advanced and less known tips you maybe didn't know about. So buckle up, cause this is gonna be a pretty cool video, hopefully. Anyways, let's get right into it. Okay, first of all, of course, we have SCP-096. Now, I've already made a video specifically for countering this motherfucker, but it's been a while and I sound like such a fucking nerd in that video, so we might as well go over it again. One of most common reasons people die to 096 is cause, well, they don't know he's in the game, so they just straight up look at him and they eventually encounter him. How do we fix this? Well, there's multiple easy ways to figure out if he has spawned or not. Firstly, of course, are your ears, since like, come on, you can hear this guy crying and destroying everything from a mile away. Unless he's using one of his abilities called Try Not to Cry. This allows him to hold right click and lean against any surface, which completely silences his whimpering. So just like with literally every other goddamn SCP, be careful and look down before opening suspiciously closed doors or doors of popular areas such as checkpoints, 914 or gates, as he'll often be waiting there to ambush people. With this bizarre ability out of the way, let's go on with the topic of how to know he's in the game. If you see a series of broken doors, especially in long straight corridors, it's very likely this was broken by the shy guy when he was chasing one of his victims, so make sure to be really cautious. SCP-018 is also known for destroying large amounts of doors, but the way you'll be able to know the difference is the fact SCP-018 will stay within the area where it was thrown, unlike the 096, which will often break doors in only a straight line. Or you can also just look at the nearest corpse you find, and if it says that the cause of death is massive laceration and excessive blood loss, then you know for sure that there is an SCP-096 and that he's likely very near. Great, now you know how to figure out if he's in the game or not. But how do you kill this 2500 HP Doomslayer? Well, once again, as this is SCP SL, there's many things that should impact your way of proceeding, such as what teammates he's paired with or how many teammates do you have. But the standard and most effective way is to follow him whilst looking downwards and then gunning him down when his rage ends. However, in the rare scenario that the SCPs have brains, he will run to his nearest teammates for protection, where there's nothing you can do besides shoot all of them. If you manage to deal enough damage to them, they'll need to retreat, and if they don't, well, you'll die, but in an honorable way, as you have taken half of their HP, which means the next time someone does a maneuver like this, they'll most likely be able to finish them off. This is where weapons like the micro or fully automatic machine guns can be a game changer, as they may overwhelm his protectors and leave him vulnerable. Speaking of micro, you can very easily kill the 096 early on by opening the micro HID room with a grenade and finding him when he's alone. Try to lead him into an area with as little doors as possible so he can close them on you, and then you just fry him. All the SCPs are usually by themselves at the start of the round, so this is a great way to take him out. Let's say you're on civilian class and you aren't here to fight, but rather, you know, actually survive. Well, in that case, make sure to memorize the locations of elevators throughout the map and keep them at your ground level by sending them down. So in case you ever look at him, you have a guaranteed escape. You should also do this even if there isn't an SCP-096, as the elevators can often really come in clutch when you're being chased. Another way you can cheat that after looking at this guy is a well-timed flashbang. If you pull it off correctly, it should blind and disorient him for long enough for you to gain a decent distance and find an escape option. Unless 5 other people looked at him, and now his rage lasts for like a whole minute. Yes, in case you didn't know, the 096 rage increases by 3 seconds for every person that looks at him, so yeah, the more you know. When multiple people looked at him, including you, always split up from them, since unless the 096 is brain dead, he will prioritize going in the direction where he has more targets instead of bothering over a single guy, which gives you an opportunity to escape. Anyways, time for some bonus but yet essential tips. SCP-079 and 096 will never spawn together unless the server has a big player count of, for example, 40 to 50 players, where it needs to spawn all 6 SCPs. This is another neat way to know if the SCP-096 is in the game, or vice versa for the 079. 096 dash does damage to you even if you didn't look at him, so if you are low HP, avoid long corridors as he's most likely to dash in them. As a guard, if you want to speedrun the micro HID at the start of the round and you don't wanna look for a lieutenant card you open the armories, there's a 20% chance a grenade will spawn in these small cabinets, which can be opened by a guard card. As there's 4 of these cabinets, that means you are very likely to find a grenade and start your career of trolling. Do keep in mind that grenades can only be found in the nuke/049 room cabinets and not in the checkpoint ones. Hello, it's me, the infamous John Carlos, and I'm here to tell you to hit that subscribe button because, what the hell? Guys, please help me. What? Guys, please help me. If you don't want this happening to you, I think it's time we talk about SCP-106, aka the Old Man. Now, this is an interesting SCP to talk about, as he's been nerfed and buffed numerous times in the history of SCP SL, but I'll do my best to cover him. Just like most other SCPs, you should be able to hear this one approaching from around 1000 fucking kilometers, and when you do, it's most important to scan your surroundings. As well, he can just walk through the door and kill you all. However, be wary that it's actually 106 and not an SCP-99 like we discussed in the part 1 of this video. You should also try avoiding door-dense places like the airlocks or just a weird corridor that has many of them, as he can easily catch up to you there. 106's main defense and weapons are doors, believe it or not. As he's the only SCP on which the run and door trick doesn't work, as well, he can just walk through them. And you may be thinking, well, actually, he gets slowed down by 0.4 seconds when going through them, but trust me, closing the doors on him ain't worth it, cause if you end up going in circles whilst running away, you'll die to the very own doors you close. Very often 106 will close doors himself for this very reason, so make sure to open all the doors you can find. Unfortunately, 106 is not as tanky as he used to be a few years ago, but he can still take quite a beating as his human shield grows as he loses HP. But what makes him different than the other SCP is that he can regenerate his shield when he wants to instead of relying on passive generation, which means he can often rush big groups of people by himself and then just quickly sinkhole the hell out of there and suffer absolutely no consequences. So how do we counter that and terminate this big black challenger? To save everyone time and my sanity, we'll simplify his 3 abilities to a simple diagram. First of all, his main attack is touching. He needs to touch someone 2 times in a row in order to send them to his dimension. When he successfully does that, he gains power, which he can use to either teleport a large distance or to swiftly move underground whilst regenerating his human shield. Now that we know this, let's explore a few most likely scenarios in which you'll engage with 106. Due to his teleporting capabilities, 106 will most likely always try teleporting behind you whilst you are preoccupied with fighting other SCPs or just doing something else. Assuming you are a part of an at least small armed group of people when he does this, this is your prime opportunity to damage this motherfucker. He has teleported right into a group of enemies thinking he's smart, but if you all just start targeting and shooting him, his shield will deplete within seconds and he will have no escape route due to his abilities being on cooldown. A cherry on top will be if you throw a flashbang. He'll 100% not notice it due to all of the chaos. After being flashbanged, he will walk around like a headless fly whilst being surrounded by quite some armed personnel. So if you don't manage to kill him here or at least severely damage him, then I'm sorry, but you or your teammates have a skill issue. If you have a mic, make sure to let your teammates know SCP-106 has teleported behind you and that they should prioritize him. If you face SCP-106 in any other scenario, you should proceed similarly. Knock his shield out, which will cause him to retreat underground, and then wait for him to pop out somewhere. When he does, make sure to be merciless on him. His abilities being on cooldown could be compared to the bosses in Dark Souls, having that brief period of time where they can be damaged before they become immortal again. Before we continue to some bonus tips, let's firstly talk about his pocket dimension and how to use it to your advantage. SCP-106 touches all kinds of people from many different places, so needless to say, there's going to be quite some loot in there. Items, depending on their rarity, will either get eventually deleted or will permanently stay there. So basically, if 106 captures somebody with a hat, micro HID, O5 card and a jailboard, all of those items will stay there. So if your team sometimes really needs something like that to help deal with the SCPs, you can send somebody in to hopefully retrieve it. Sure, your chances may be slim, but keep in mind that 90% of gamblers quit before they hit big, so yeah. The pocket dimension will also occasionally drop items located within it, but I swear to god it's always something completely useless, so I won't rely on that to actually give you important items. You can also use the pocket dimension to potentially escape doom situations like when you look at 096's face or when the SCPs have you cornered. Just run at the 106 and insult him if needed and they'll take you like 70% of the time. Yeah, I can only imagine the SCP chat once the 106 does that. Anyways, time for once again bonus but yet essential tips. Hip hip hooray! If you successfully escape 106 dimension, you will gain the traumatized status effect, which means the next time he touches you, you will get insta-kill. But with this effect, your screen gets grayer and a heartbeat sound effect gets louder the closer you get to 106. So you essentially get a small warning system for 106 like in Dead by Daylight. Make sure to learn the difference between the sound of 106 getting out of a sinkhole and the sound of the sinkhole that drops items from the ceiling. I have gotten jump scared by it so many times when it first came out until I realized what the hell was going on. When 106 is moving underground, he'll see targets with less amount of HP more far away, so being fully healed makes it easiha for you to go undetected. If you suspect SCP-106 is secretly following/stalking you, make sure to think twice before going into any elevators as you may seal your own fate. Haha, I lived, you stupid bitch, go back to the fucking race. Anyways, if you're gonna get as lucky, skilled as me, you should totally hit the subscribe button because it will increase your skill by like 200%. Trust me, it worked for me.
Target neutralized. Anyways, let's go on with the video.
Now, over the course of a few years, I spent excessive time and effort into developing ways to counter this fucker as fuck you, you stupid bitch, go fucking. So if you have below 1000 hours and don't find anything I'm about to talk about useful, I'll be impressed and cry. Anyways, let's start off with how to avoid this motherfucker as a civilian. Well, for starters, if you know he's in the game, you should absolutely never go to popular places like 914 or the Candy Room, since that's 100% where 079 will go first to get some free early XP. He'll open the door of the room and then lock it and boom, you are dead. I'd advise just getting a zone manager card and leaving as fast as possible. When you're in heavy, unless you're part of one trained armed group, you should never touch the generators, as you'll just tell your location to to every hot and single SCP in your area. Tesla gates can also relatively easily give away your position, so avoid them if possible. Speaking of Tesla gates, always make sure to check if the camera is blue before crossing them, as he can manually trigger them, causing you to of course die. Throughout the facility there's a few blind spots for the cameras like elevators or airlocks, which you can use to confuse and mislead the 079 when he and his team are actively looking for you. However, of course, there's gonna be unfortunate scenarios where even this doesn't help and you get noticed by the 079. Well, there's multiple items that are gonna be your best friend in evading and surviving the 079. First of all, of course, we have the Ghost Light, one of the most underrated SCP SL's items. SCP-079's main abilities are literally locking doors and causing blackouts. What does the Ghost Light do? Well, exactly the same, but if you throw it at an already existing door lock or blackout, it will reverse the effect. So if you're ever running away and the 079 closes the doors on you, you can just throw the Ghost Lights and you'll be chilling. Especially since the Ghost Light also disables the 079 for 8 seconds and drains his whole power meter, meaning he won't be able to bother you for a while, which gives you time to escape to safety. The next item, while maybe not as good at directly countering 079, will help you significantly weaken him. And that's the grenade. Whilst you can use it to destroy the doors 079 locks on you, I will recommend rather destroying certain doors in advance. For example, very oftenly the 079 splits up the MTF with this door. By destroying this door in advance, you basically make this big pocket where your team can move freely and support each other effectively. By being cramped in smaller rooms or even more split up, you make the SCP's jobs a lot more easier. And last but not least, one of the most important counters for the 079 is the flashlight. Now unfortunately, as much as we love the laser sight on our guns, cause like hip firing with this is disgusting, but sometimes there are times where we need to let go of it and embrace the flashlight. Or well, you don't need to, but it increases your likelihood of survival by at least 60%. As I said before, blackouts are one of the 079's main weapons. Not only because it allows the 173 to kill everyone instantly, it also just generally makes fighting and evading harder cause well, you can't see fucking shit. My recommendation would be having 2 guns in your inventory. One with a laser sight and a layout which is suited for every situation but especially for taking out humans, and another gun which is suited for fighting SCPs but will contain a flashlight. This way you don't have to waste a whole inventory slot carrying a flashlight, but you also don't sacrifice being completely ineffective in one field of combat due to either not having a flashlight or a laser sight. Well, now we have learned the essentials for defending ourselves against the 079 and some tricks to be a pain in the ass for him. But how do we kill him? Well, I'm glad you asked, cause once again, fuck this guy. Staying together is absolutely necessary, as 079 will often try to split you up with doors in order to weaken you. If the 079 is constantly closing that one door, which causes your teammates to get trapped and killed one by one, make sure to blow it up and keep advancing. Once you reach heavy containment, there's 3 generators you need to activate, with each taking 125 seconds to boot up. Once you start the boot up process, there's 2 possible outcomes. 1, the SCPs have 0 coordination and you'll activate these without a problem, taking out the SCP's most important teammate and then finishing off others without any problems. And scenario 2, objective, survive. Now what I mean by this is that half of the SCP team will be on their way to your location with the goal of shutting down the generator and taking out a few targets. Now when this happens, make sure you have your flashlights ready, as 079 will most certainly support his team with blackout. The generators are often in exposed spots, so make sure to shoot the SCPs with every single bullet you got, as they'll have no cover. It's recommended to blow up the doors of these rooms so the 079 cannot split you up and so you can fall back if necessary. Don't be discouraged if the SCPs overwhelm your positions and disable the generator, since after they do, they will retreat to heal from the damage they receive. You can use this opportunity to immediately re-enable the generator, which will require them to go back in, but this time significantly weaker. By constantly pressuring the SCPs to disable the generators once your team stays together and watches each other's backs, you will exhaust them in no time, which means that either the generators will get activated, which allows you to well kill the 079, or an SCP will make a mistake and get himself killed, which only makes defending the generators easier. This may sound like a complex task, but trust me, as long as you work together with your team, shape the rooms to your advantage and watch each other's back so you can't get flanked, you should be able to defeat the 079 without too many difficulties. Anyways, that's all bit for this video. If you learned anything new or at least had a nice time watching it, you should hit that subscribe button, or well, don't, but I would appreciate it. Have a great day and I'll see you next time.